All right, so yesterday I talked about macronutrients and the breakdown of macronutrients and proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and alcohol. I mentioned that proteins were 4 calories per gram, fats were 9 calories per gram, and carbohydrates were 4 calories per gram, and alcohol was 7 calories per gram. So that means if you had 20 grams of alcohol in a beverage, you would have 140 calories in that drink. So what I want to talk about today, because it deserves a mention, is how we can fit alcohol into our counting. Because I know we all like to do that, right? I'm not condoning that. I'm just saying that there is a way to manipulate the numbers a little bit to make them fit within your required calories of the day so that you can enjoy a glass of wine or two at the end of the day without completely going overboard and still have a sensible dinner, again, without going overboard in your calories. So, knowing that it's 7 calories per gram, you don't really need to know that. If we're using tracking software like MyFitnessPal, generally you can look it up. And as a side note, I would stick with the one thing that you consistently use. Okay, if you ever have a question about it, most 5-ounce glasses of wine are going to be like 120 to 140 to 150 calories. It just really depends on the wine, the darkness and things like that. For the most part, you can find consistency. If you ever question it, look it up in Google so you know you have a starting point for what you're looking for. They're going to be different. Most grain liquors are going to be about 100-ish calories per ounce, okay? And the calories are what matter here. So, for nice numbers, I like wine, so I'm going to use wine. I have a glass of wine, 5 ounces, which is 150 calories. So let's say that since I'm somewhat of an athlete, I'm a carb-heavy eater, okay? And I want to manipulate these to fit within my carbohydrates. So I would take 150 and divide that by 4, because it's a carb, which equals 37.5 grams of carbs for the one glass, right? So I now know that if I have 2 glasses, I've just taken down 75 grams of carbs in wine. And it's not necessarily that you've taken down 75 grams of carbs, because alcohol is an empty calorie. We're just manipulating our numbers a little bit so that we can still make things work throughout the day. So if you're somebody who likes to save calories or wants to save calories, this is a good way to do it, to make alcohol work where you're not overindulging in both alcohol and your dinner. Now, let's say you're a little bit on the lower carb side and you want to manipulate your fats. So we have 150 calories divided by 9, which equals 16.6 grams of fat for that one glass of wine. So the problem here is if you tend to be more carb heavy, chances are your fats are a little bit lower, so it's easier to take away from the carbs. If your carbs are lower, your fats are probably a little bit higher. It's easier to take away from the fats. So keep in mind though, that if we have 2 glasses and you're manipulating that equals 33.33 grams of fat for 2 glasses that you've chipped away at. Now, here's my favorite. Here's my personal favorite on the 2. We can get a balance here, right? If you want to manipulate both. So you take 150 calories, divide that by 2, and we have 75, right? So now I have 75 that I can use both ways. I'll maneuver this up here. So we have 75 divided by 4, and then 75 divided by 9, which equals 18.75 grams of carbs. And this equals 8.33 grams of fat, which gives a little bit more even distribution on either side So now you can eat a little bit leaner on the fat and the carb side for your dinner and focus on your protein and veggies and maybe enjoy a couple of glasses of wine. Again, I don't condone it. I do it when I'm tracking. It makes it easy. The hard part is when you start trying to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and these numbers start getting out of control. So this is when you're trying to moderate your alcohol, still enjoy it a little bit during the week if you want, and make it fit within your diet so that you don't go overboard. I hope that helps you, and I hope you'll have a good night. Next one, we'll actually get into how we're figuring out our calories and what that looks like for people. You can do it by hand. You can use a formula or a macro calculator or things like that. And we'll discuss how you can break it up to best fit your needs.